Bring in Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, Republican from Pennsylvania, also sits on the House Judiciary Committee and House Committee on Foreign Affairs and is an Iraq War vet. Nice to see you, Congressman. President Trump says
you too, David.
Kamala Harris his #1 pick. Does she help or does she hurt the ticket?
Well, I don't think it matters who Joe Biden was going to pick because Trump's going to win this election. But I think Trump has a better chance now that Kamala Harris is on this ticket. And here's why, David. Kamala Harris is the one that drove that Democrat debate stage radically to the left. If you recall, she's the one that eagerly put her hand in the air when asked if you believe we should provide taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants. She also made statements that she wants Medicare for all, which means individuals will lose their private health insurance. And when the media gave her a chance to nuance her position, she doubled down and said, yes, I don't think we should have private health insurance. We should have Medicare for all, a single payer system. So she is radically to the left. I think it's interesting that Joe Biden's handlers made this pick for him. I've been saying the only thing Joe Biden picks every morning is how he's going to take his coffee. But it signals how far left, not only this party, but how far this campaign is willing to go.
You think Joe Biden remembers how he wants his coffee every morning? That's debatable. We'd have to check the script.
I'm being generous.
All right, so I want to ask you about one of the first things that President Trump said at his press conference yesterday when asked about Kamala Harris. He talked about her opposition to fracking, and she said in 2019 on a CNN town hall she would absolutely ban fracking. Huge issue there in your state of Pennsylvania. What type of impact would that have on the economy and jobs, a serious issue going into this election?
Well, if you ban fracking in Pennsylvania, we are in a serious economic predicament, not only because we lose the oil and gas sector, but individuals would be paying more money for their electric bill. Also, manufacturing becomes more expensive. It costs more to manufacture because our electricity would go up. And also, you wouldn't have the cheap, abundant petrochemicals that come from the natural gas industry. So wanting to ban fracking is completely ignorant of the facts. It's also being totally ignorant of the impact it has on the local economy. And David, I might just want to say this too. Look, I'm a Navy veteran. I was in Iraq. And I can tell you that because we have fracking in places like Western Pennsylvania, Texas, Oklahoma, the Dakotas, we are much less dependent on foreign oil, which gives us a commanding advantage on the international stage. It makes us less dependent on Iran, on Russia, Venezuela. So again, if someone wants to say they want to ban fracking, not only is that bad for their electoral outcome in states like Pennsylvania, it also would disadvantage Pennsylvania and the United States.
Of course, you know, Kamala Harris just likes to check the wind on an issue and might evolve on that one as well. Just give her time. All right, let's turn now to the coronavirus relief bill talks. The two sides, trillions of dollars, miles apart. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said he is open, though, to another round of talks with Democrats. Listen.
Well, Jim, I think there is a compromise if the Democrats are willing to be reasonable. There is still a lot of things that we need to do and that we've agreed on.
Are they, Democrats, willing to be reasonable? And how far can the president go with executive action without congressional help?
Well, look, I'm in Congress, so I think that we should legislate on this, but I applaud the president's action. And if we look back at what the Democrats were holding up the negotiations for, it was really to hold up for far left agenda items like making sure illegal immigrants got stimulus check payments, making sure millionaires in blue states got tax cuts, truly off-base, tone-deaf issues that didn't resonate with the American people. So I'm really glad President Trump took action. But yes, we should be back in D.C. We should be working toward a resolution, and we should be trying to make that payroll tax holiday permanent so American people don't have to pay that back, especially so we just bring some calm and predictability to the economy. But again, President Trump was in a position where he had to take action because the American people needed help and they needed it right away. And Democrats were just not willing. We're not willing to put the needs of the American people above the wants of their far left radical base.
So can you get a deal done?
That's up to Nancy Pelosi and whether or not she's willing to negotiate, because we as Republicans have showed that we're willing to be the adults in the room, meet halfway. It's the far left that will not budge on these ridiculous ideas, like I said, of making sure illegal immigrants get stimulus payments, making sure that sanctuary cities get funding. I mean, they have all these Green New Deal provisions, like limiting the carbon emissions on airplanes, things that have nothing to do with COVID relief, but they're holding out for these radical policies.
Tens of millions of Americans desperately need some help. All right, as we look forward to another election, we have to learn from the past one. And this past weekend, Senator Lindsey Graham confirmed that someone at the FBI lied to Congress while briefing them about the Steele dossier. Who do you think that person was? How high the chain of command does this go? And will there be any accountability here in your estimation?
There needs to be accountability, and when the Durham report comes out, I'm eagerly awaiting that Durham report. We should see how many people are actually indicted. But to go back to the original question of where the buck stops, it's interesting to see these individuals throw Jim Comey under the bus. We saw Sally Yates do it last week. But at some point, somebody was directing Crossfire Hurricane and was directing individuals to provide false information, not only to judges on the FISA court, but also to members of Congress, and that's very troubling. And David, if I could just pull back, a lot of people think that this is all about politics. It is political, yes, that's true, because Jim Comey politicized and weaponized the FBI. That is true, but it's also about the rule of law in the United States. If the FBI can do this to President Trump, they can do this to the average citizen, and that should be troublesome to everybody.
Okay, in a hard turn, soft turn, from the FBI to college football and the Big Ten. Your thoughts on the Big Ten? You're out there in Penn State country. Your thoughts on the Big Ten canceling college football season, the Pac-12 canceling college football season, while it looks like the SEC and the Big 12 would like to proceed with football. Does this come down to politics? Are you happy with what's going on?
Yeah, I got a few thoughts, David. First off, we have got to the point in the United States where we have politicized everything. It used to be sports and entertainment were void of politics, and that's how it should be. But unfortunately, the left has brought politics into our recreational activities. Now, I can say that Governor DeSantis is doing the right thing, saying that we should look at science. These are very healthy 20-something-year-old students. They want to play. There's a huge economic benefit. If you go to State College, I'm a Penn Stater, if you go to State College on game day, that city swells to literally the third largest city in Pennsylvania, huge economic benefits. But the left can't help themselves. They want to politicize. They want to ignore science. And let me just say this, too. What about the players? You know, these colleges and universities, they have the habit of taking advantage of younger people. And you see it playing out now. These student athletes want to play football, yet they have no representation. Their desires are completely ignored by these individuals in college and university administration. And that says a lot about where the administration is vis-a-vis the players and their rights and their opinions.
Yeah, the hashtag We Want to Play has been huge on Twitter because these guys can go to war, but they can't decide if they get the right to play college football and to protect their future on the football field. Anything Congress can do about this?
We should take a look at it. Look, we need to get back to Washington, D.C. to look at not only this issue, but also the issues of having negotiation. But Nancy Pelosi is not calling Congress back. And I think, David, it's because when we're in our districts, Nancy Pelosi and her staff are there in Washington, D.C., consolidating power and making all the decisions, not only on this, but on so many other really important issues that face the American people.